Alright, so let us go on now to finishing off Chapter 5 and just kind of going over a few more constraints that you can use as a tool for your drawings. And then we'll proceed on to Chapter 6 in a future lecture, where we talk a little bit more about design features that you'll use, like extruding and some other things. So the next constraint I'm going to talk about is the reference sketch. Let me go ahead and start a new sketch on plane. And the reference sketch, really what it allows us to do is to create what's called a reference line. So let me go ahead and create a line. Let me go ahead and create a line. And I've just created it with some dimension. I don't know what it is, but I really just want to illustrate this point to you. Let's say I wanted to create something, and what we're going to use this reference sketch for is if when we're drawing something and we want to create a line that we can use as a reference or as a something, especially when we have something on a particular axis, something that we can draw other shapes on and use it basically as a reference, hence the name reference line. So one of the things we can do to convert this into a reference line is just right click on this line and we can say convert to reference. I think it's also located here in one of your features here, so I think it's this particular feature, show all constraints. You can click to the right of that, and I believe one of the constraints here will be convert to or from reference. So we could use either one of those, and let's go ahead and select convert to or from reference from this toolbar menu. So I selected the line, and now it has come out as kind of a brown dashed type line. Now I can use this if I'm drawing something as a reference point, where I can have several other, let's say I want to have 3 circles all on this particular line, and when I click finish sketch, my reference line remains there. And now the benefit of this is that we can draw a 3-dimensional drawing, draw a reference line, and use that reference line then as a guide for some of these shapes like I've drawn here. So now you see this reference line. So this is just another tool for you to use, another type of constraint for a particular line we might be drawing. Let me go ahead and describe also now the mirror sketch operation. So for mirror sketch, let me go ahead and draw some random profile. So I'll draw this random profile here, I don't know, some strange shape. And you notice that I have drawn it in this coordinate. So you know, when you guys go through pre-cal or calculus, you guys will talk about each quadrant here. So you know, this is one of the quadrants where we have both y and x as a positive value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select this particular shape, and I'm going to, well, let me show you also this option here. It's called offset curve. Let me go ahead and select to the right of it. In this particular option, we have one called mirror curve. Let me go ahead and select that. So now that I have mirror curve selected, I can select the curve that we have, and it will select the entire shape. I can select the center line now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the center line as being this y-axis. So I can select this y-axis, double click on it. Oops, like something has happened there. So let me go ahead and select this curve again. Let me go ahead and select the center line. And you see now we have had a mirror. Let me go ahead and hit apply. We've had a mirror image drawn of this right next to the object that we drew. And we can continue to draw. Let's say if we wanted to select this curve, we want to use this axis as a reference point for our drawing. We could do that. I don't know what is happening here. Select the curve, select the center line. Well, I think you guys essentially get the gist of it. You can continue to select the curve, and we can continue to select reference points along these curves that will serve as a guide for our mirrored shape as we're drawing it. And this may be helpful if we want to draw something that's symmetric. And you guys can practice this particular one. It's also the tutorial 5.4 in your textbook on page 97. Let me now talk to you about placing the sketch at the end of a curve. So let me go ahead and click this, finish the sketch, and let's move on. Let me go ahead and start a new sketch. And I'll go ahead and draw something here, some line. Maybe not so complicated. Let me just draw this line here. So this particular line is drawn on the XY plane. Okay? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to select to draw a new sketch now. And this is something that I think a few of you have been asking me in the class how to do it. So let's go ahead and take a look. This is one of the ways to do it. When we start the new sketch, we can look at on plane, or we can look on path. So let's go ahead and select on path this time in the sketch option. So to select path, once we select path, we can click on the curve, or the particular curve that we're talking about here. Let's say we're looking at this curve. And let's go ahead and say that the arc length, we can say is 0%. Let's go ahead and click OK. What you now will see, and I wanted to go ahead and, let me go ahead and make it very clear that the arc length at that point was 0. So you want to make sure that the arc length at that particular point is specified as 0. So what I have done now, I'm just rotating this, I have created a new plane based on the curve that I have drawn earlier. So it's a plane drawn based on the end of that line that I drew. And now it's another plane that we can look at. And when we select a new profile to draw on, we will be drawing on this particular profile, rather than the conventional one that we have been doing it on before. So you see that's a little option we have called just placing the sketch at the end of the curve, and it gives us like a little tool that we can use that we'll talk about later, called sweep. And we can play with that here. We can just go to Insert, Sweep, and Sweep Along Guide, and we can select the curve that we're wanting to sweep. So let's go ahead and select this one. And we can select, I don't know, some other guide here, and we can press OK. And you see we've made like some plane here that's some solid plane that's floating in space. And it gives another example in the text where it gives a really cool little I-beam shape that you guys can try to also do. But we'll continue on that particular feature as we progress through the future chapters. There's a few more tutorials in the section, but I'm not going to go over them. I think we've covered some of the main ideas that we wanted to. The main idea being sketches, and we wanted to make sure that sketches are something you guys know that you can use, and something that we can really get our idea across quickly to whoever we're trying to make this drawing for. So future lecture is going to be on design features, and we're going to really start getting into some of the most basic tools and some of the most fundamental tools that we're going to be using quite a bit in the rest of our drawings for the semester. So I'll talk to you here in a very little while.